Hey, we are live, everybody, and welcome to the One Life Music and Podcast channel. How is everybody? Saturday afternoon. Rick Revel, a big bone to pick with you. I don't do Saturdays. Did you know that? You've got me out of bed.
Got you out of bed.
No, you haven't got me out of bed. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the UK. If I was sleeping till 5, I'll be back to my teenage days. So welcome, young man. Welcome to the show. It's really lovely to see you. You've been making me really busy looking through all your videos.
It's great to be here. It's you. Actually, this is kind of an inaugural thing. You are the first interview that I've had that's considered an international interview. So you win the prize. We were talking about the Home Shopping Network a while ago. You win the prize. So see, you're the first to do a interview across the big pond.
Fantastic. Do you know, I'm proud. I'm honored. I'm absolutely honored to bring the world over here in the UK to the amazing one and only Rick Revel. We're going to highlight this young man. So when he does come over to the UK, everyone knows who he is and they know his work. And at the end of the day, he will then come and play for all of us over in the UK. What do you reckon? Are you coming over to the UK?
It'd be great to come do a tour sometime, but it's kind of interesting. I had put an album out many years ago, making it in America, and some of the first places it caught on was in England, and it was like, wow, you wouldn't think that American music, especially country music, you just don't think of it being popular other than where it was recorded and made in southern part of America, and all of a sudden you have
I can't get away from it. It is. I can't get away from country music in my family. My sister lives in Nashville, and she basically married an airman, and basically country music, that was all what was played in her house. So for the last 15, 20, 25 years, country music is everything in the household. And that's included my mom. She turned into a big country person. So I know my mom will probably be watching your show today and she'll be listening to your records. She follows so many country artists. She loves them. Yeah. So it is big in England. I think the old style country blues is still... but in terms of the new style country, it's really big. There's some really good artists coming out in terms of the new style country. But, there's people like my mum and my sister will continue listening to the old style country and they will just religiously say, AJ, that's your next single. Come on, get your country hat on. And even my fiance the other day said, AJ, you've got the beard now. I've seen some of the singers that you interview. Yeah. She says, there goes the cowboy hat. So I need to find myself a cowboy hat just to keep the missus happy.
Well, country music it's changed a lot. When I was doing it back in the 90s and we got some attention overseas, it had more of a traditional sound. The sound in the 2000s up till now, the 2020s, it started shifting and it's got more of a hip hop feel and more of a pop feel to it. So country music today, for the younger audience, they really don't know what it was like back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, especially the 50s and 60s, in the somewhat infancy of country music. Of course, country music existed before then, but country music became more famous and popular during the 50s and 60s, and its heyday was beginning to reign. Hank Williams Sr. made it popular, and then Cowboy Copas and all the different ones that were surrounding his infamy. You had a lot of people that were a part of that, making country music a household word and something everybody would listen to. But today it's different. It's just totally different.
I think it's one of those type of musics though that everybody can enjoy, everybody can dance to, and it's got that vibe that there's so many music singles out there in the charts and things like that, and people listen to them in their cars. Or I used to be a DJ like 15, 20 years ago, and I used to play multiple music where people would just sit there on their phones or they would just listen to it. They wouldn't get up and dance. But country music's always been that type of music where it's a party. Whatever song's played, it's a party. Everybody's up and dancing. It just gets you.
Yep. Country music, to me, country music is that thing that I get a chance to bare my soul. For so many artists, when I was working in Nashville in publishing, I worked in Nashville during the 90s for a publishing company. And then I was writing songs to pitch to other artists. So I was writing songs that fit that mold. They had a certain way they wanted songs written, a certain message, because they were pitching to certain artists. They were pitching to people that were singing songs like Garth Brooks, you mentioned earlier, Brooks and Dunn, the different ones that were popular then. So I was writing songs that would try to match what they were doing. I call it cookie cutter. And there gets to be a point in your life you want to write what's inside of you. And this last album, that's what I decided to do. I've been considered a rebel all my life, and so it wasn't too
a rebel without. I tell you what, Rick, I'm going to stop you there because there is a clip that I'm going to be playing later on in the show to show your rebel side, because we're going to find out who is the real Rick Revel in relation to outside of music. And there's a lot on your YouTube page which gives away a lot of the things you do outside of music. So just coming back and reeling you back a bit, we are going to go on to the best bits of this year, but we're also going to just, what I forgot to do at the beginning of the show, before we talk about the first question, which is always our charity question. We always talk about our local and national charities and the good work that our singers are doing out there in the community to support local and national charities. But before I do that, I just want to remind everybody that this year, I tell you what, Willan Hospice would be hoping it was this year. This month, we are supporting Willan Hospice over in Milton Keynes. And obviously, this month, we are aware as artists that it is a very, very difficult conversation to have. Some of the conversations that we have as artists may draw upon their experiences of hospice care or palliative care. So what I always say at the beginning of the show, and I'm thankful to Rick for starting the show off with a good old conversation. This is what we like at One Life. But I just want to remind people, if there is something that hits a nerve, or if there is something that makes you feel a bit sad, or you need support, do you know what? The One Life team are always there for you, and us artists are always there for you. At the end of the day, a message doesn't cost anything these days. We can all talk to one another. We can all support one another, and we will be there for every single one of you in One Life. I know it's a really tough, difficult discussion that we talk about in terms of Willan Hospice, but they're doing a fantastic job. And I want to say hi to Willan Hospice because they will be watching today's show. They'll be watching you, Rick, and they'll be seeing and hearing and learning about your music. So thank you for joining us, Willan Hospice. So in terms of bringing you back a bit, let's go on to question one. But before we go on to question one, I have been looking at your highlights of the year through your bio as well. And I tell you what, you're rocking it. Absolutely rocking it with your music. And congratulations. That's all I want to say. Your YouTubes, you are into multiple thousands of views on most of your singles that you put out and your videos that you put out. They've got a very historical context and they've got a very amazing style of video that everybody seems to really, really love. And we will go into a little bit more detail about the videos later. But I just want to recognize that for yourself. You're doing amazingly well. YouTube's a real hard thing to get onto in terms of getting the views, getting the videos, getting people interested in your page. And wow, that's all I wanted to say. But also this year, you've been nominated for a Josie. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And that was somewhat a surprise. You submit and
I bet it was.
You never know what's going to happen when you submit. So
I bet it was. And also you have had was it New York City Independent Film Festival Award?
Yeah, the last one that we had was a Southern themed project. And I had won several awards in the New York area before. But when this particular video that's more of a Southern themed, you wouldn't know how it would be received. You never know. And I think they looked at it from a music standpoint, and the music production's A1. And the video production turned out to be A1 too. So I think they judged it by its content. And I tell you what, when you get an award like that from an independent source, it kind of is a tip of the hat that you're on the right trail. And that's what I like. That's the reason I enter all these things. A lot of people think it's about an ego deal, but when you get an award, get a nomination, what it's doing for an artist, this is from Rick Revel's standpoint. I can't speak for anybody else, but from my standpoint, it's letting me know I'm headed in the right direction. If people are liking it, they're nominating my work, it lets me know that these things are happening. Now, from a resume standpoint and from something that, like yourself, when you read it, it's like, oh, this cat's only, he's on the ball. Well, it does send that message out, and I'm very thankful for that. But for me as an entertainer, it just lets me know that when I shoot that arrow, I'm hitting the mark. So that's what it is for me.
You're shooting the mark. You're on the radio. You got a lot of radio plays. That's another thing that you need to be truly proud of yourself for this year. The radio plays are coming in thick and fast. The nominees are coming in thick and fast. And I'll tell you what, hats off to you. I saw a post on International Singer-Songwriters the other day, and it basically reminded me of people that don't understand how much hard work us artists put into our work every single day of the week. We don't sometimes go to bed without producing our next song, our next album, getting ourselves ready for a festival or tour. And a lot of us who are not signed, or we're not having a major music label paying us thousands, we're relying on the streams and your kind support that you give us. It's a hard job. It's not easy out there.
No, it's not. It's not an easy thing. And as you know, as somebody that's in music, as you know, there's a difference in major label artists and independent artists. When you have a major label, they're paying for a lot of the things. You still, at the end of the day, on the bottom line, if you're on a major label, you're still paying for it. Whatever money's made is coming out of your pocket, whether it's now or later, it's coming out of the earnings that whatever your music's making. So it's going to be paid for. So one way or the other, all the investment has to be paid for. But as an independent, you're paying for everything up front, all the way through. So when somebody says thank you, like yourself saying the things you're saying, it gives me that uplift to let me know I better stick it out just a little bit longer and just keep on.
You better stick it out. You got to stick it out. We're enjoying the music. There's some great singles coming out. Keep sticking it out. We're enjoying it. And at the end of the day,
thank you.
You've got
thank
a real
you that
bubbly
you're saying
character,
that you love country music the way we're putting it out. Thank you.
I do. Do you know what? I'll tell you what, Mother, if you're listening, and I know you're listening, I have been converted to country music. I have spoken to too many country music stars lately, but I am converted to country music. And I'll tell you a little bit of a secret. It's a go-to now. If I've got a playlist for music, I'm putting on my country music. So
right.
You've got me. You've got me as an artist. I've been converted to the world of country music. And I actually blame Andrew Dean. He was one of my first interviews. I don't know if you know Andrew Dean from the ISSA, but he was one of my first interviews as a country music. And yeah, I'm blaming him. So in relation to question one, in relation to these charities, you did put in the bio that you do some support work for local and national charities. Can you tell us a bit about it in one life?
Well, in a way, a charity like what you're doing, which you try to raise money to go directly to the hospice. And when you do charity work, that's a lot of times what you think of. I've been involved in heritage preservation pretty much all my life. In 1976, I went on the bicentennial wagon train and rode all the way from Memphis, Tennessee to Valley Forge, Pennsylvania to celebrate our bicentennial year for America. And so it was to celebrate our greatness, our country's greatness, and had a chance to be exposed to a lot of historical landmarks. And it had a huge, tremendous effect on my life. And so pretty much from 1976 forward, I have been involved in one way or the other in some type of form of heritage preservation, whether it's taking historical characters and portraying characters like George Washington and teaching history through that, or it's, let's say there's an old home somewhere that somebody of historical value, they lived there, we help to preserve that home. So you have to raise funds to do it. Statues, monuments for the repair, the upkeep. And as of the last few years, there's been statues torn down, and we're finding homes or rebuilding statues. So we're having to raise money to do that. So if you want to call it a charity, that's exactly what it is. We're raising money constantly,
exactly what it is,
and helping others raise money to preserve American history, because it's trying to be taken away from us, and we're trying to do something to give back. Because the way I look at it, AJ, is I got to leave something behind for my children and my grandchildren. And if the truth is not there for them to see, then how are they going to learn? They have to be able to see it. And those statues and monuments, they're pieces of the puzzle that help to teach that story. So without them there, how can they know what took place at that particular location? So it's very important to have those historical markers and things in place in order to know what took place at that particular location. Like on a battlefield somewhere, if there's no statues there to tell you the story, then you're going to walk in, it's just an open field. You've got to be able.
Do you know what I think we're lost in time. I think we're lost in time, aren't we? In this generation, as my son calls it, Generation Z. You know, we're lost in this generation of physical things and history. You know, I'm a strong believer that we go out and we learn history physically, and we see things. We get out of our bedrooms. We get away from our phones and smartphones and things like that, and actually see historical places. And, you know, it's so sad to see so many artifacts and statues destroyed or not there, or you don't know if they were there because you don't even know they exist. You know, so what you're doing is amazing.
Well, in your country, let's say Churchill, one of my heroes. And let's say that everything about Churchill is taken away. What kind of disgrace is that? That's a huge disgrace to take away any information that talks about Churchill. You don't have to like Churchill, but if you're taking away that information about Churchill, how are you going to know about him? You're not going to know.
I think for our new generation, it's like pulling the plug on the Wi-Fi, isn't it? You know, if we pulled the plug on the Wi-Fi and they couldn't go onto Google, they'd be absolutely running down the stairs going, "Where's my Wi-Fi?" And that's exactly the same in terms of history. Let's go back into history then. When did it all start for you? How old were you? When it comes to music, when did you pick up your first guitar, or when did you sing your first note?
Lord have mercy! Yeah, I built a Tinker toy. I don't even, in the audience, you may not know what Tinker toys are, but when you're growing up in my neck of the woods back then, it was called Tinker toys. They're little wooden toys that you put together and you build something, kind of like a Rector set, and so. Kind of like Legos today, but it was all made of wood back then. And I built a Tinker toy guitar. And so when TV commercials would come on, and TV commercials back then, they were called jingles, the music, the song that would sing about the product, I'd stand there and play my little Tinker toy guitar and sing the song. And so that's how I grew up, standing next to a black and white television singing these songs. And everybody would laugh and think it was cute, but I was serious. I wanted to learn how to play guitar. So my grandmother bought me a Montgomery Ward guitar, and it was plastic, and it didn't take long for the neck to bow on it. So eventually they got me a neighbor had a guitar, a True Tone guitar, and they gave me that to see if I could really sit down and play it, if I was interested enough. Mom and Dad didn't want to spend the money on a guitar if I was just going to throw the idea out the window in 2 or 3 weeks. And I kept playing that old guitar and banging on it. So they went out and bought me a harmony guitar, and that was my first guitar to play on stage. And before long, I started making money at age 12, playing Friday nights for square dances and stuff. I started making money, and by age 15, I'm starting to appear on Nashville television, singing and playing a Martin guitar, which I got for my 15th birthday. And so once I got there singing in Nashville, and the bug bit, and it bit deep. So went backstage at the Opry and met with Roy Acuff. And that moment, it was a life changer. Some of the things he said, when I first came here, he said, "Son, when I first came here," and he's twirling his bow around from his fiddle. He had its bow in his hand. He said, "When I came here," he said, "they were looking for talent." And he said, "I was very fortunate, very lucky. They were looking for talent, And so they brought me in. He said, today we're inundated. We have more than we can stand. So you're going to have something that makes you very unique. Wow. Tell a 15-year-old that what's going to make you unique. I didn't even know how to spell the word or what it really meant. Unique. Okay. So you have to have that. You have to have something that sets you apart. And it may take you a while to find that. So for all the entertainers and singers out there, find something that makes you unique. Work on it. Make that your craft and continue working on it. Never turn back from it. If it's something good and wholesome, I don't promote anything that's bad. A lot of people think that you can take anything and throw enough mud and it's going to stick. Well, yeah, but all you have is a mud pie at the very end. You got to have something of value. And so if you have something of value, it's going to grow. And so that's what
and your music 15, has grown.
Kept cultivating it. So
definitely. So come on, let's get your music out, because we're 20 minutes into the show and I'm dying to listen to some of your music. So we're actually going to play a music track of yours, and then we're going to do a video after a little bit more of a discussion. So tell us a bit about Southern Man and how that become. What tell us the story behind the Southern Man.
Behind Southern Man? Wow.
Yeah.
I don't like getting political, and I'm not. But if there's any song on the album that touches on it, this one does. It may touch a nerve for some people, but hopefully it's just like our conversation earlier about Churchill and preserving heritage and history. For the past few years, I've been watching statues come down over and over again. And each time a statue comes down, that piece of history goes with it. And so I woke up one morning, and as a Southern man, born in the South, raised on a farm in Henry, Tennessee, a true Southern man. I've worked in the logwoods. I've driven tractors. We've raised cotton. We've raised corn. We've raised cattle. We had horses, and it was run like a ranch. So we actually raised the cattle and would gather them up with the horses. So it's done like the cowboy way. I've been in rodeos all across the country. So I've lived that kind of life. I'm a Southern man. But all of a sudden, it feels like I'm living in a strange land. It's not what the South used to be. And so as those words began to evolve in my mind, then the melody began to evolve. And before long, we had a song called Southern Man in a Strange Land. And when you play it, you will get the message. It's a very plain message. Fantastic. It's one of those that talks about, if you're a true Southerner, I've had people hear the song and they cry because they're true Southerners and they're going through that experience themselves right now, watching at their court square where statues are being torn down. Me and Kevin were talking about it earlier. It doesn't show up in the news anymore, but they just took one down this week in Grenada, Mississippi. So it's something, it's a constant. It's constantly happening where somebody decides they don't want that statue anymore. It's coming down. Most of the time it's statues about the Confederacy, but now they're going, but it's not just that. They're taking down statues of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, which may not mean anything outside of the United States, but those are two founding fathers for us.
It sure does. It's getting rid of history. Clark. It's getting rid of physical. Yeah. No, it is. I want to play this song. And please. I also want my audience to think about it also, because actually it does hit with me tonight. It really does, because it's taking away the physicalities of history. I think we need to stop. Okay. So we're going to play this song for everybody. Here it comes.
Born down in Dixie, and there are those who try to fix me. I got rebel blood flowing in my veins. They seem to drive them all insane. I don't buy the lie they sell. I want the truth and not a fairy tale. They don't listen to what I say. They want things just their way. I'm a Southern man in a strange land. The South ain't the place that it used to be. On a court square, here go, there's no statue there for you to see. You can't erase what took place. You have to learn from your mistakes. very proud of my bloodline, but some won't like what they're gonna find. A loyal son of the South, but I'm a patriot without a doubt. I hate seeing freedom fade away. America kneel and pray. I'm a Southern man in a strange land. America ain't what she used to be. On a court square, you go there, there's no statue there for you to see. You can't erase what took place. You have to learn from your mistakes. I'm a Southern man, taking a stand when I can. God save the Southland. I'm a Southern man in a strange land. The South ain't the place that it used to be. On the court square, you go there, there's no statue there for you to see. You can't erase what took place. You have to learn from your mistakes. I'm a Southern man, taking a stand while I can. God save the Southland. God save the Southland. God save the Southland.
Fantastic track, young man. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Really, really well produced and amazing vocals as well.
Thank
That was a great track. I really enjoyed that. And I'm sure our listeners enjoyed that also. In relation to your music, though, you know, in terms of the Joses and things like that, you know, let's go a bit into those, you know, because over here in the UK, we don't have the Jose Awards. You know, we obviously can go forward to them being over here in the UK, but there's a lot of awards that over there in America, because to be honest, if you want to be a musician, you have to move to America. It's loved by so many in America in so many ways, and it's so passionate. You know, our English artists, and you know, will always say a lot of their great tours are over to America. And in terms of some of the music styles and things like that, you know, we're very blessed here in the UK. You know, we have the Beatles, you know, and many great artists over here, and the Queen and things like that. But there's just something about being in America and doing those festivals and tours in America, and especially for the country music side, you know, over in Nashville, Tennessee. But the awards, you know, I've just been watching the ISSA Awards. You celebrate it like no other when it comes to awards. But to be an artist recognized for your awards yourself, there must be no greater feeling. You know, a lot of people will say, well, you know, you put yourself forward for that, you pay the money for your entrance fee. Like you said earlier, it's really pure rocket hard work to get to those awards and get nominated. But also, once you get nominated, can you remember when you got that phone call for the Josies? Can you remember how you felt?
Yeah, it's hard. When the very first one is the one you remember the most, I guess, is when you get the first one in the mail. Kevin didn't have that experience until we produced a music video together on Muscle Shoals Sound. And when I brought the certificate, we got a certificate that came through, and I brought his certificate, gave it to him last year. And it was his first one to get us working together. And the look on his face when I handed it to him, "What's this?" He said, "What is this?" And it's like, you won this. This is something you earned for the work that we did to put a music video together. And it does change it. You're not doing it it's not about the numbers. It's not about counting how many you win. Like I said earlier, it's about letting you know you're headed in the right direction.
Definitely. And you are headed
one of
in
the
right
things that I'm
direction.
looking forward to, if we go to the Josie Awards, we're going to be at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville. It's not so much just the fact that I'm sitting there and hoping my name will be called. It's all the other people that are there. They earned this right to be there also. And so you get a chance to be with them, and it's a camaraderie, and you get a chance to meet a lot of the faces and put names and faces together. I did that at the
collaboration is an amazing thing.
Yeah, the Mississippi Music Awards. I got a chance to do that, and had a chance to meet Jay Osmond. And when I was growing up, the Osmond brothers were it. Everybody just worshiped the ground that they walked on. Of course, when Marie Osmond came out, it's like, holy mackerel. But anyway, I always thought she was cute, and so the Osmonds were a big name, and so we're doing a show, and Jay Osmond is kind of a host and a part of the Mississippi Music Awards. I get a chance to meet him and rub elbows with him, and so you get a chance to meet a lot of people. So that's I guess that's a fringe benefit of being a part of it. Is it what I live for? No, it's not what I live for. I live for having a great family life, being a good husband, being a good father, being a good neighbor.
Fantastic.
That's
one life loves knowing all about our artists, and I think being an artist myself, I don't want everybody to know me as the person on stage. I want you to know me as AJ. That's why I put my name. Right. AJ's not just a stage name. My friends, my family, everybody calls me AJ. Even my work colleagues now. Right. And at the end of the day, we are artists, we are music artists, but we're also normal people. So we're going to go on to that next. We are going to go on to who is the real Rick Revel? What don't we know about you?
Yeah, I think that's the thing is you want to know those little things. That's the fringe benefit. You get a chance to sit down and have a meal with some of these artists. And I'm just like anybody else. It's if you come across like, when I first worked with Loretta Lynn, I had admired her career for many years. And then all of a sudden, I'm working with Loretta Lynn. I'm riding on her bus. I'm sitting back there at the back of the bus, and we're writing songs and talking about writing songs. And all of a sudden, I'm at her house one day, and I'm talking to her husband, Mooney, and he's looking out the back window at his Belgian mules out in this pasture. And she comes into the kitchen and she says, "Do you want a sandwich?" And so she goes to make sandwich she called him Do. And she looks over at me and said, "Honey, you want a sandwich too?" And she made me a ham sandwich. So I go from being a 15-year-old boy when I first went to Nashville, scared to death, not knowing anybody, to when I'm 19 years old and I'm in her kitchen and Loretta Lynn's making me a sandwich. Loretta Lynn at 15 was just a name of a big star. Then later I'm eating in her home and becoming friends with her. So you never know where life's going to take you.
You never know what life's going to take you. You've had an interesting life. You've on farms. You owned a farm. We had a farm. You have a farm. It was in your bio.
Yeah. Yep. I'm still living on my farm. The big farm that she had is still in existence. The ranch is still in existence. But I didn't want to lose my roots. When I mentioned mom and dad earlier, both was their caretaker. But after they both passed away, I wound up with the family farm. So that's where I live this very day. So, Fantastic. You don't want to lose contact with your roots. If you ever get disconnected from your roots, then you're going to be in trouble. And I call my music roots music because it's still connected. It's still connected to the beginning of what music was supposed to be. And the reason I guess I did my last album in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, as opposed to Nashville, and I have nothing against Nashville. Spent many years working in Nashville. But Muscle Shoals, Alabama has a different sound, a different feel, and a different approach. You have R&B sounds that were born there. You have blues sounds that came out of there. The man that's considered the father of the blues, because he made it popular, was W.C. Handy. He was born in Florence, which is right there at Muscle Shoals. And so W.C. Handy is the father of the blues. He's there. I wrote a song about him. It's on this album. So you have all these famous things that took place in Muscle Shoals in a little town in North Alabama. Most people don't even know about it. But we know about Leonard Skinner, the biggest hit they ever recorded, Sweet Home Alabama, done right there in Muscle Shoals. Right. So some of the people I chose to work with, I wanted it to be the people that were at the root of what helped change music. So you have country music But in Muscle Shoals, they changed and made a whole new genre called Southern rock. And Southern rock is just a grown-up version of country music. It just takes country music and expands it and puts more electronics to it. So you're not so much with the fiddle and steel guitar, although they do show up in Southern rock at times. But Southern rock plays that slide guitar and those heavy slash lines on the electric guitar, and all this sounds coming out, but it still has a country feel to it. And that was born there in Muscle Shoals area. So
fantastic.
I wanted that.
You know, Rick, you got that sound. Rick, I'm going to stop you there. You missed the question, buddy. And I'll tell you what, I'm reading your bio, and you were talking about your lovely wife in terms of the many actresses and many singers that you've met through your career and who you admire. And I thought you dodged it very well. And you said, actually, there's one person you admire most is your wife. So outside of music, are you a family man? Do you do anything away from music? Does he have to pull you out of the studio and away from recording? Do you actually be a family man as well?
I'm definitely a family man. The one thing the family has learned is when I'm focused on my work, is don't interrupt me unless it's an emergency. but we have a great relationship. My wife is very supportive of what I'm doing. There's a couple of songs on the album, Sweet Southern Lady and Love at First Kiss. They're about her. So I try to include her. She's actually in a couple of the music videos. She's in Muscle Shoals Sound and Hard Times in the Deep South. So I keep her involved as much as I can. I try to involve my children.
Fantastic. How to butter up the other half by putting her in the music video. My fiance said exactly the same thing when I done my single for her. She's like, you're trying to butter me up, aren't you? Just by playing me a music single, just so you go back to work. I was like, no, honestly, all the words that come out of that song, it was about you. Honestly, you know, it's just like... typical musician, you never get away from your music. I was like, no, I really was. I meant every single minute of those words that come out in that song.
Yeah.
Once a musician, always a musician.
Always musician. We do have our own language. We do have our own language and way of communicating. So, and what's amazing is listening to you speak, and we have a lot of things in common, and we have many miles between us, but yeah, we have a lot in common.
Definitely.
And how we
do. There's one thing I don't have in definitely, but there's one thing I don't have in common with you. We're getting towards the end of the show, and I'm dying to show everybody this. So I was rooting through your videos, and I was trying to find out who the real Rick Revel was. So before I even say anything, I'm going to show people what I found. So Rick doesn't know that I'm doing this. But I am going to play it now, and then he can tell us a bit of background to it. Okay, so I'm just going to add his profile to the stage so everybody can see it, and then we are going to see young Rick Revel in action.
This is one of my Mr. History pieces.
You'd already know.
Oh yeah, this is going to show some of my gunfighter
stuff. You know this one. I know. Yeah. I saw it. I was amazed, mate.
Yes, me doing my own stunts. I'm a stunt man. I don't do much of that anymore. Afraid I'll break a fingernail.
You were a good shooter. Look at that.
And the bullwhip thing is I don't get a chance to do much.
Yeah, the bullwhip thing.
Very few can do the two-handed thing. It's a very limited amount of bullwhip artists that can do the two. I learned that from a Native American friend of mine, how to do the two. Yeah, I was a young buck when I did a lot of this stuff.
You was a young buck, weren't you? Look at you, eh? I thought we'd go back a bit.
Yeah. I started doing the old West gunfights, portraying a young version of Wild Bill Hickok. I started that when I was 19. they're working at Loretta's Ranch. So that's what got all this started. I started doing a lot of this at Loretta's Ranch.
Have you still got that outfit now?
Yeah, just about all the clothes you see, I still have them. Wear most of them still. I still twirl.
Can you still do that with the pistol?
Yeah, I still do some of the trickery on the gun.
And there's Rick going down the slide. Yep. What? I tell you what.
That hotel, the porch that I came down off on that hotel, I helped to design that whole skit, that whole stunt. And the whole idea was, and I was playing a different version of Hickok there, and the whole idea was they threw a stick of dynamite up there to blow us up in the hotel, the second story. I grabbed the stick of dynamite, put it between my teeth, fuse is burning, and as I grab the rope to go down the tether line to the well, I'm shooting my pistol. I throw the dynamite into the well blows up. But the town itself, I helped to design the town, that hotel. I was actually there when that was built. So I was part of that being designed and built and the whole 9 yards. That was up near Cumberland Falls.
I gather the whips have been like put away somewhere safe now. There's no stuntman in you now. I gather those days are long gone.
Well, we still try to do things like that, but not like we did, because life has changed in terms of priorities. When you're trying to crank out as much music as you can, and as many music videos, and we've got a television show called History Highway. My time is very limited, so we have to stay focused and stay on point of what we're trying to accomplish. When I was younger, I didn't worry about it. But when you get the age that I am now, I'm 67 years old, and so when you reach that point in your life, you go,
"Really? You don't look 67, young man."
I'm 67.
I wouldn't have not put you at that age. Wow, young man.
So when you get to that point in your life, you say, "Hey, I've got to be focused. I've got to stay on point, and if I don't, then there's going to be things that I want to say, things I want to do that will not be accomplished." Because literally, I'm being honest about this. I want to leave something behind for my children and grandchildren and generations to come, so they can go back and look at my History Highway TV shows, learn something about American history, listen to the songs that I'm singing, because I'm trying to carry culture into these songs. So when they hear a song, it will teach them about the South or teach them about a piece of American history. The W.C. Handy song, that's a very important song. It helps to preserve the memory of W.C. Handy, who is considered the father of the blues. So to me, the music's important, and it has a mission, as opposed to just writing something hoping to make money. I have a mission, and so it's different.
Definitely.
When I was in Nashville, and the great mission that you writing for publishing companies, it was more about money, but it's not about that anymore.
Good. And I'm glad you're doing something good for the country that you're in, and it's really great. In relation to how we can keep in contact with you, one quick thing that I saw, and I haven't seen it for ages, a fan club. I thought those sort of things are gone. I remember being in fan clubs when I was like in my teens, but you've got your very own fan club that people can join. How do we join? And do we get a T-shirt? What's in the package?
Well, the whole thing with the fan club, when I was with Loretta, the Johnson sisters, they were the one that started Fanfare, which was a big event now that CMA does. They call it FanFest, CMA FanFest every year. But it was started by the Johnson sisters, who were the fan club presidents of Loretta Lynn's fan club. And they taught me the importance of having a fan club. They said, you need to have one because it keeps the people that like your music, keeps them connected and helps build the momentum. So when we got ready to launch this album, we hadn't had a fan club in many years. And so somebody that was actually a fan of mine that lives local approached her, and she said she'd help put it together. So we now have a fan club that's functional outside of my regular Facebook page. Because you never know about Facebook. One of these days, Facebook just might decide themselves they don't like your page, and it's gone. So I've learned to make sure you have multiple Facebook pages to stay present.
Definitely.
And they will restrict you. That's happened this week because they just take your post down and never really give you a reason.
We don't talk about that on the we don't talk about that on the show, Rick, because we don't want to be restricted ourselves. Okay, so we know the big brothers at Facebook often watch us,
that happens.
we won't go into too much of a discussion into that because they will pull One Life down as well. And I'll be coming straight back to the Rick Revel show and say, "Oi, you." Anyway, Rick, we nearly come towards the end of the show. Tell us a bit about how we can find your music and where's the best place to look you up.
Yeah, you can find the music on rickrevelmusic.com is where all the music is located. And then if you want to find out about some of the acting and stunt work and stuff like that, it's just flat out rickrevel.com. So we have the two websites. But rickrevelmusic.com is where you can actually order the music. We went ahead and produced some CDs. We got vinyl LP albums coming out because there's the people that have nostalgia in their blood for the old LPs. We wanted to, on this one, to produce that because the album itself has nostalgic sound. So we wanted to do that.
Fantastic.
Then we're all over Facebook.
We will get you out.
So YouTube is Rick Revel Mr. History if you want to look up my YouTube channel. So.
Fantastic, brilliant. And we've already got some of those links out prior to the show today, and we'll get them out afterwards. So, Rick, I just want to thank you for coming along and visiting us at the One Life Music and Podcast Show. I hope you've had a really good time. I've had a really great time. Before we go, is there anybody that you would like to thank in terms of your music and in your videos and things like that? I know that your family are very important to you. Your producers are sitting with you today. Is there any people you'd like to say a special thanks to?
Becky Johnson. The widow of Jimmy Johnson, one of my heroes that produced Leonard Skinner. I want to thank Becky Johnson and John David Thompson that introduced me to Miss Becky and got me involved in the Muscle Shoals movement. Then introduced me then to Billy Lawson, who's my producer. So those are the key people in Muscle Shoals that started to make all this happen and get this movement started. Kind of a revival for the Muscle Shoals Sound. That's what we're trying to do. And of course, Kevin Keel, and it's helping me produce my new music videos and helping to do the management. So can't forget those that are behind what you're doing. So we appreciate it. Definitely not.
And also the lovely wife as well. I know she's going to be listening to this video. We better make sure that we mention the family members and the lovely partners. Okay, well, we get shot and you won't be allowed to go in that music studio tonight. To be telling you off. I'm going to say thank you to you, but I'm also going to thank you to all of my lovely listeners out there. You have been amazing this week. We have been through a long, hard week. We have had some amazing artists on the show, and they will continue to come towards the end of September. I draw week 2 nearly to a close. I've got one more artist to interview tomorrow, and then week 2 is finished. Just to go back to right at the beginning, anybody out there who has been affected by any events in today's show in terms of discussions around palliative care or charity, please reach out. Do not keep it to yourselves, okay? I think the most important thing that we need to remember is that we're not just stuck to a computer or a mobile phone. We are stuck to one another as family, and that may be family that we don't even know. It may be just Rick. It may be just somebody down the street. Every single one of us are family members towards each other, okay? And I think we need to remember that, okay? So if you're going through a bad time or a difficult time, find the nearest person and talk to them properly, not on the phone, okay? Just reach out to them. Okay, so I'm drawing tonight to a close. Tomorrow night, live on One Life, we've got the amazing Robbie Hart is joining us on One Life. So if you know Robbie, join us in tomorrow's show at 7 p.m. at UK time, and we look forward to welcoming her to One Life. I'm going to say good night to everyone, and good night to this young man over here. He's been fantastic, and I've really enjoyed having him on the show. Good night, Rick.
Great to be here. Bless y'all.
Bless you.